Time now for the ultimate roundtable. Discussion, debate, passion, and fun, all rolled into one opinionated show about fantasy sports and much more. Let's meet today's guests.
Joining us today, the owner of VIP Sports Management, Nick Taylor. Bryan Hernandez, the man behind Azteca Scouting, also the scouting director for UFLB. And Larry Fisher, UFHL insider and UFHL scouting director. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. So what we're going to do, we're a three-man show on this edition. Bugsy Malone was going to join us, but the internet did not cooperate. So a little bit more time for everybody else to get started. And Nick, let's start with you with our first topic.
Next topic.
Who was the worst draft pick from your favorite team all time?
Well, I've always been a Canucks fan. I'd say back in 2007 was probably a bad year for quite a few people. It wasn't the greatest draft class. We got 25th pick overall. That ended up being Patrick White, which was one pick before David Perron, St. Louis. So could have had Perron. White never played a single game. Actually, all 6 of our picks that year did not play a single game. So, Kane went first overall. Subban was 43rd. Had Wayne Simmons at 61. And at 129th, we had Jamie Benn. So, those are the notables.
Yeah, that was quite a draft year. A lot of good options. And for the Canucks to completely whiff, that always hurts. Growing up an Oilers fan, in the mid-'90s and those lean years and into the decade of darkness, I can definitely relate to no shortage of bad draft picks. The one that really stands out is 1995 because the draft was in Edmonton. That was the last year that the draft's been in Edmonton, held in Edmonton, and certainly the crowd was rooting for the local boy when Edmonton was on the clock at 6th overall. They were actually chanting "Doan, Doan, Doan." And the Oilers stepped up and selected Steve Kelly instead of Shane Doan, who went with the very next pick, 7th overall. So that was a pick that haunted Edmonton, and that was still, the end of the Glenn Sather, Barry Fraser scouting regime or management regime there in Edmonton. And then the decade of darkness, and the one that jumps out there was Jesse Niinimäki in the early 2000s. Really off the board pick, it's one of those picks that sent all the commentators on TSN and the draft coverage. They're scrambling to who is Jesse Niinimäki, and here he is, this skinny little Finnish kid who obviously just wasn't cut out for the NHL and obviously had some skill and some talent, but he was a big reach at that spot and obviously didn't pan out, along with a lot of first round picks in that era for the Oilers before. More recently, they started hitting on their first round picks and couldn't draft outside the first round, but to Peter Chiarelli's credit, starting in 2015, although he traded away the Matt Barzal and Matthew Stevens from Tampa there, young Mitchell Stevens, although he traded away those 2 picks, which could have been Anthony Beauvillier and Matt Barzal, although he traded those picks away, I think since 2015, Edmonton's been a lot better outside the first round and have been drafting a lot better heading into the Ken Holland era as well. We'll see how that keeps up, but certainly the ones that stand out for me are Steve Kelly over Shane Doan in 1995, and then Jesse Niinimäki was just one that was way off the board in the early 2000s and didn't pan out.
So I got my volume back, so I'm back, guys. But as was my favorite team is the Dodgers, and but the baseball draft, it's always hit and miss wherever you go. It's not always, even first round picks aren't like for sure things, but this pick, man, 2013 Dodgers 18th overall pick Chris Anderson and then with the very next pick Marco Gonzalez, the now Seattle ace, and even like other picks, even like the comp rounds, you got Aaron Judge, you got Michael Lorenzen, Corey Knebel, Ryan McMahon. There was a lot of players still on the board that were very good. Chris Anderson just never panned out. He just he got released by the Dodgers, signed with the Minnesota Twins, played 3 days, and then got released. But the one saving grace of that 2013 draft was Ballinger got drafted in the fourth round.
Next topic.
All right, looking ahead to the next couple of drafts, who is the best non-drafted hockey prospect not named Shane Wright or Connor Bedard? So looking for names past 2021 into 22-23 and not named Wright or Bedard, who are the top guys. And, I don't want you to give away too many secrets, Larry, as the scouting director, but let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, certainly. If you look all the way ahead to 2024, which is the futures auction coming up, there's some high level talent there. There's going to be guys like Cole Iserman and Berkeley Catan, and that Shattuck St. Mary's team next season is going to be just amazing to watch. They could have, much like Michigan will in 2021, those guys could have 3 top 10 picks come 2024, if not more. But I looked at 2023 as a premier draft, and the name that I would highlight under this topic is Matvei Mishkov. What he accomplished and what he showed at the recent U18s, I thought he was every bit as good, if not better, than Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard had an amazing goal in that tournament as well, and both those guys are going to be battling it out for first overall. But I think Matvei Mishkov is, if you're looking at Wright and Bedard as the top 2 prospects in the hockey world right now, I think Matvei Mishkov is right there at number 3.
I'm gonna go with my pick because I love his name. It's a great name. From the 2022 draft, Rudiger McGrody. Just then that name is perfect. But besides his name, you're gonna catch a lot of people's eye when you have 160 points in one season, and as the last 2 seasons, he hasn't really gotten to that peak point again. But he's just a big guy who has a lot of speed, and I think he's gonna be a top 3 pick, maybe top 5. But I just think he's just rising. He's just rising right now, and I think he's going to be one of those names you're going to see that's going to be coming up fast.
That's funny. I had a list of names. I had Mishkov. The stuff he's done is unreal. In the MHL, like he played 26 games, 70 goals, 39 assists. 26 PIMs. But if you look at the rest of his teammates, I don't think many of them have too many assists. Like they're not up there with him. So he kind of did that all on his own. So he's going to be unreal coming up. Rudger, yeah, he's another one. But I like Seamus Casey, defenseman, little guy, 5'10", 161 pounds. He's going to be playing for Michigan, it looks like. He's just composed and professional. I've seen an interview of him. Looks really good. Another guy I like is a 6'4" Slovakia guy, Juraj Slavkovsky. I think I said it right. 218 pounds, 17 years old, big kid. We're going to see him playing for Slovakia for many years to come. So really big guy, front net presence. So that's who I think.
Yeah, those are great answers. And obviously Slovakia is going to be on the rise. They've sort of had a few down years where they haven't done much at obviously the World Juniors and the big events, but they're going to be on the rise. And who isn't committed to Michigan these days? Seems like every top defense prospect, every top prospect, when you hear where they're going, it's Michigan. So Michigan's going to be a hockey power for the next 3 to 5 years as we see all these kids come up together and come through the NHL draft. And obviously McGrody as well. Like Bryan said, just a big guy who shoots the puck incredibly well. And he's going to translate well to the NHL with his skill set. And I think he's got a big draft year to come next season. And I think we'll see him ramp it up like Bryan said.
Well, even with McGrody, we're even trying to figure out if he's even going to go to Notre Dame. He's deciding if he's going to go to the OHL or if he's going to go to Notre Dame, and so we're going to see what happens with that. And I think whatever he chooses is going to tell a lot for the next season.
Next topic.
All right, let's move on to hypothetical athletic situations. Which all-time athlete do you wish you could go one-on-one with in their prime? Like, this is the ultimate fantasy situation right here. Bryan, start us off.
Oh, well, being a Dodger fan, I gotta go with one of the greatest Dodgers of all time, Sandy Koufax. I mean, I'm not that good of a hitter, and I know he's probably going to strike me out in 3 pitches. But even if I get a foul tip off of him, oh, that's a story. It'd be tell for ages. And it's just, seeing Sandy Koufax to me was just seeing poetry in motion, and it's just one of my favorite baseball players of all time.
I wouldn't mind. I'm a big sports fan, so as you can see, I mean, I played football growing up. I played soccer. I played baseball. Hockey I never really got into, probably because I couldn't skate, which sucks because it's my favorite sport. But yeah, floor hockey, yeah, street hockey. But yeah, I mean, all sports. Taking a pass from Joe Montana or even Brady, playing a game of bump or horse with Jordan and Nash or even Rodman in there to add some excitement. Taking a pitch from Nolan Ryan. I probably wouldn't hit off him, but those are just players that I've watched growing up. Favorite hockey players, Theo Fleury, maybe play a little one-on-one with him. Not on ice, but yeah.
Yeah, having anything to do with Rodman would be, like I said, bring some excitement. That'd be awesome. And for me, obviously, hockey is my number one sport. And growing up or being a goaltender, when I think one-on-one, I think of the shootout. So for me, to save face, I'd probably want to go against somebody who is really good hockey player in their career, but maybe not the best in the shootout. So going back to Edmonton, maybe somebody like Ryan Smith would be a good one-on-one challenge. Maybe he's a pretty big name. Maybe I could stop him a couple times out of 10. So just kidding, Smitty. We love you. And we love when you teed it up with a slap shot in the shootout occasionally. But all kidding aside, I mean, I think Connor McDavid has to be the guy you'd want to be on the ice with right now. Just that speed. I've covered games, morning skates as media and stuff, and been right against the glass watching him go. And the speed on that side of the glass is incredible, but to be in the net and see him barreling down on you would be intimidating. And I think he'd be the guy you'd least want to face in the shootout, but probably the guy that would be the most exciting to face of the current generation, just to really get a feel for the speed that he comes at you with, and just the amazing skill set that Connor McDavid brings to the game. So that would be fun to share the ice with him.
What athlete would you be scared to face? I mean, they're like, I don't think in his prime you could have got me in a ring with Mike Tyson. Like, I'm pretty sure for the millions of dollars I could have got, I still would. So what athlete out there, like, is it like, maybe in his prime, Al McInnes teeing it up from the hash marks, or Randy Johnson, something, or, trying to get around one of the best linebackers out there? Like, who's that athlete out there that would scare you to face?
Bob Probert. Sorry.
That's good.
I've met him too. I've shook the guy's hand, and it's a big hand. It's gnarly. But yeah, I mean, rest his soul. But Bob Probert probably would be wouldn't want to face him.
I think Kobe, just because he's a tactician and he's a master trash talker, he would just tear you apart before you even gets to the core. I just think, I mean, he was probably the nicest person in the world, rest his soul. But I just think on the court, he was just, I would hate just to try to block him.
I still say Kobe when I take a ball of paper or something to throw it into the trash can.
Everyone does.
Kobe.
Everyone does.
Yeah, rest in peace, both those guys for sure. And, Probert, like you said, Nick, you wouldn't want to meet him in a corner on the ice, let alone drop the gloves with him. He was an intense, fierce competitor, and so was Kobe in a different sense. Maybe not the most physical player, but just his skill. He could break a lot of ankles. You'd probably be laid up for a while after trying to go one-on-one with him. And for me, Dean really took the name out of my mouth. I mean, how can you not be terrified to face Mike Tyson? And let alone in his prime, that fight with Roy Jones Jr., and now he's going to fight again, and just seeing him in training and stuff. That is one guy, as much as I like to think I can fight sometimes, that's one guy I wouldn't want to be anywhere near in a ring or outside of the ring either. I think he's an intense guy, and I love the Mike Tyson story, everything about it. He's he had a real aura about him, and just an intimidation factor. And I think he like kind of like you said with Kobe, Bryan, I think Mike Tyson defeated most of the guys before the opening bell rang, just psychologically, and just everything about him was so intimidating. And so, yeah, definitely count me out. You couldn't pay me enough money to face Mike Tyson, that's for sure.
Next topic.
All right, when evaluating a hockey player, what is the first skill set that you look for? And let's go back to Nick. Nick, what are you looking for when you're first looking at a hockey player?
Yeah, so, I mean, speed's a big thing these days, skating. I like to watch how they work against the boards in the corners and in the dirty areas. And I really like to see how professional they are off the ice, and how much restraint they can have, staying out of certain scrums when you have to and whatnot.
I love hockey. It's just hockey for me is hard to scout because I've never played it. But I mean, what I would do when I was looking at players is I would look to see. I personally just looked at their assists to see, okay, how are they? Are they a good teammate? Are they giving people the puck? Are they trying? Are they still in the limelight? Or are they trying to give other people the limelight? And again, to what Nick said, how are they on the bench? How are they outside the ice? I think that with any sport, you want the guys who are always, even if they strike out, they're in the dugout high fiving. If they miss that tackle, are they on the sideline still high fiving, trying to pump up the team? Just those type of players that bring up the team are just amazing players.
And hockey being played on ice and being such a fast sport, like Nick said, and only getting faster by the year. I think the first skill you notice is speed, right? And skating ability. That's what jumps out at you when you're watching hockey players. You can definitely tell if somebody's heads and tails faster than somebody else, the speed jumps out. But for me, beyond the initial eye test of who are the best skaters and who gets around the ice the best, and not only speed, but pace, right? And being able to pace yourself to the game. And especially a guy like Connor McDavid, he can fly, but he can really slow down the game when he needs to too off the rush. But so controlling situations is important. But I think as you watch a player, maybe the first couple shifts, if you're seeing him for the first time, you notice skating probably first. But after that, I really think vision and their ability to, play without the puck and read situations. So vision and hockey sense kind of go hand in hand. Vision from the playmaking standpoint, like Bryan was saying, and I think just the hockey sense of being able to find those soft areas. And that's the difference when you get to the pro game. I find guys that were really good at junior that could, lug the puck up the ice and get a wicked shot off the rush. Kid like Jake Virtanen or something. Those guys don't always pan out in the pro game because you really have to read off your line mates, read off your teammates, and be able to, it happens so fast in real time in the NHL. You got to be able to be in the right spot at the right time. And I think that ability to play off the puck and really have vision for the game and a hockey sense, it's a harder skill to scout. But as you're watching into the second and third period of a first time watching a kid, I really look for their play away from the puck. And when they have the puck, where are they looking? What are their reads and what are their vision like? I think that's for a new scout, I definitely tell them to pay attention because when you're watching the game on TV or you're watching a stream online, it follows the puck. So you really don't see that away from the puck or that necessarily that you don't see. You only see what the player sees kind of on TV. You don't see the rest of the ice and all the other players. So really the read and react is a big thing. And that's where being in the building and getting that eye test is adds a lot of context to what you see on a screen for sure.
What do you think is a skill set when you're watching a player that realistically can be improved? Larry, do you want to tackle this one?
Yeah, I can. I mean, on the other side, the work ethic and, the feel for the game, the hockey sense is hard to teach. That's something you kind of either have or you don't. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Dean, with skating. I mean, you look at Leon Draisaitl in junior. He was a lumbering, slower, didn't have a lot of power in his stride. And I think that's common with a lot of big guys that are in their draft prospect or in their draft year. They haven't grown into their body yet. They haven't got that core strength and that lower body tree trunk legs to really power their height. And I think a lot of bigger guys, especially, they become stronger skaters in the NHL. Leon Draisaitl is one of the, he's still not the prettiest skater, but he's a powerful big man now, and he gets around the ice very well. So skating seems to be, a lot of people say, oh, he's a bad skater, or he's an ugly skater. There's a lot of guys that, this year's draft, for example, Brant Clark, he gets a lot of comments about his skating, but his vision or his hockey sense is so good that even though he's not the best skater, he's still 2 steps ahead a lot of the time. So I think skating, stride, mechanics, again, through video scouting or through video skills, the skills coaches and the video and how they can really break down, every mechanics of skating. I think that's the skill that nowadays a bad skater can become a good skater in a couple summers. And a lot of these NHL teams have hired figure skaters or power skating coaches to really work on, just the mechanics of your skating stride. And that's something that can be improved, as we've seen with guys like Leon Draisaitl. He's just one of a long list in recent years that were, quote unquote, a bad skater in their draft year or in junior and are now above average or quality skater in the NHL. So that's one. And also shooting. I mean, not, a guy like Brett Hall or some of these guys that it just came naturally to, they just have that wicked release and you can't necessarily teach that. But the more pucks you shoot into the washing machine or, in the backyard or against the garage door or whatever, once you're a professional hockey player and that's what you get paid to do, and that's all you have to do all summer long is shoot 1,000 pucks a day, I think your shot can really improve year over year as well. And we've seen that in the NHL. Some guys break in and they're more so a playmaker and then they become a shooter. And I mean, Connor McDavid's awesome at everything, but that's something Connor's really gotten better at is his ability to shoot the puck. But on that same topic, one thing that's hard to learn is how to do a proper one-timer at NHL speed. You look at Austin Matthews, Alex Ovechkin, some of these guys, that's something Connor McDavid hasn't learned yet. So I'd say shooting is something that you can develop and improve year over year, especially when you have all the time in the world to focus on it as a pro. But the one-timer is a tricky skill to time at the NHL level and the NHL pace. So shooting goes both ways, but certainly skating is the one skill that I think you can make a lot of strides with the right skating coach, which you don't necessarily have. More and more junior teams are getting skating coaches, but certainly at the NHL level, every franchise puts a lot of money into improving skaters, and they're willing to draft a quote unquote bad skater. And by the time they get to the NHL, a lot of these guys are average to above average skaters, which is the skill that stands out for me nowadays is skating. You can overcome a bad skater if he's got that vision and that ability to read the play and just keep up at the pro game mentally. Somebody like Brant Clark is a prime example that his skating's not the best, but he's going to do just fine when he gets to the NHL.
Next topic.
All right, rank the following All-Star games from best to worst. We have the National Football League's Pro Bowl, the NHL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball, which we just saw most recently. So, Nick, what do you think? What is the best, what is the worst, and what's in between?
Best of the worst, eh? I'm a bigger hockey fan than anything. I'd say, if anything, with the All-Star games, is that more of the skills are more exciting to watch for the fan. Like the NHL skills, I do tune that in usually every year and watch that. Hardest shot, breakaway, even though the goalies hate the skills competition because they get a lot of shots. But the All-Star game portion of it, I don't usually watch anymore. Just doesn't interest me. A lot of them, they don't interest me. It gives me a weekend off kind of thing from the sports. So NBA, I like the dunk contest, but that's about it. Players don't seem to like that. They pull out of it. It's not good for their backs. MLB, home run derbies, a lot of players pull out of that. NFL, I don't know. They need a whole new format. So that's my opinion on the All-Star games. They try and bring the fans in, but they need to reformat them, I think.
You see, with me, because I'm a big basketball and big baseball fan, I rank the NBA and MLB All-Star games like the top premier ones. The NHL, I really don't tune in because it's like, okay, it's NHL All-Star, okay. I never really get the excitement like I do for MLB or NBA, just because I think the dunk contest and the home run derbies are like those big like excitement getters. But I mean, most recently, I've been tuning into NHL All-Star games, but that's just recently when I was younger. I couldn't watch it. And you got the bottom of the barrel, the NFL Pro Bowl. It's just one of the worst. It is the worst. They like Nick said, they need an entirely new format. They need to fix that. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to do something. It's just bad.
Yeah, shout out to Andy McNamara. He tackled this topic on the Benchables this week on one of his shows, and I'm going to echo Andy's sentiments. They all suck, and you know what? I'm not gonna. I don't have any cool Vegas glasses to rock. I'm not going to be in Vegas this weekend, but I echo all of Andy's sentiments. I feel NBA is probably the most individual-driven sport, so I really do rank the NBA All-Star Game and the dunk contest. I think that has probably the most popularity. I think, a lot of celebrities get involved with the NBA All-Star Game, and it is cool to watch the dunk contest. Again, the games are all just, in hockey, we call it pond hockey, but there's no defense. Everything's played at about 50% pace, if that. I had the privilege of covering the NHL All-Star Game in Los Angeles in 2017. I was there for the full week, and I enjoyed the off-ice stuff, behind-the-scenes stuff, and meeting the players and going out with the players and doing some VIP events a lot more than I enjoyed any of the on-ice stuff. So the NHL All-Star Game doesn't do it for me either. The skills competition to some degree, but I generally know the results before the skills competition starts. Just being such a hardcore hockey guy, there's not too many surprises there for me most years. You know what? The home run derby and baseball All-Star Game, let's rank that number 2 for me. So if the slam dunk contest and the NBA All-Star Game is number 1, I think certainly the skills competition part of these All-Star games outshines the actual game itself for sure, no doubt about it. But the home run derby, we just saw, a swing off and a great home run derby just last week, I guess. So I do enjoy the home run derby. I do enjoy baseball, probably number 2 behind basketball as far as tuning into a skills competition portion of the All-Star game. And I got to agree with everybody else. As much as I'm not a huge fan of the NHL's All-Star Game, having experienced it firsthand and stuff and seeing the fan experience, it's decent. And I think it's still miles ahead of the Pro Bowl with the NFL. I honestly can't remember the last time I tuned into a Pro Bowl. I think I enjoy the Puppy Bowl at the Super Bowl, the halftime or quarter segment of watching the Puppy Bowl. I enjoy the Puppy Bowl a lot more than the Pro Bowl. So we'll leave it at that.
I mean, I gotta agree. Yeah, the Puppy Bowl is way more entertaining than the Pro Bowl, and I just think the Pro. I think like the Pro Bowl, it's bad because it's at the end of the season. If it was in the middle of the season, maybe it would be a little better. Because like with the other All-Star games, they give you a break in between the regular season. But the Pro Bowl is just like the end of the season. A lot of people think are tired of football. They say, okay, we got the playoffs. Why do we need this Pro Bowl?
Yeah, I think so much of it is let's go to Hawaii and have a good weekend and get away or wherever the Pro Bowl is held, right? For the players as well, it's a great for them to get together all in the same place and live it up off the ice or off the field. And I know they enjoy that downtime. As I saw firsthand in LA, there's probably some pretty hungover players by the time Sunday's game hits. They do have a lot of fun off the ice. We've seen Alex Ovechkin with some of his props in the skills competition, and those guys have more fun off the field, away from the court, off the ice during the All-Star festivities. It's more for the players, I think, to get together and try to put on a show for the fans. But ultimately, I think that the hardcore fans would rather watch a real game than any All-Star game. It's more about maybe attracting some new eyes, some new fans. Certainly for the live experience, if anybody's in attendance, it's better than watching it on TV. But overall, not a huge fan of the All-Star game experiences.
Next topic.
All right, our final topic on the Ultimate Roundtable, and you could get many different answers on this one. What excites you the most about UFFS right now? When this show airs, we'll be in the middle of the UFAHL auctions. There'll be a lot of exciting people hanging out in Vegas during that. So, Bryan, what excites you the most right now about the Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports platform?
Well, I think it's 2 things. I think, like you said, the UFAHL auction. I gotta get used to that. Auction is this weekend, so I'm excited to see how much these teams are gonna be going for, because I know Chris Carter and Walt Harris have been talking about it a lot. Um, but also for me, for being the scouting director, I want to see the players that people bring. I want to see these names I don't know, and I have to Google to figure out and see why these players, why these people, why these scouts like them so much. And that's gonna be one of the exciting things for me, is seeing these players out of nowhere that I get to finally learn.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm a scout, so yeah, the getting into all that with the other sports is going to be really exciting. And
Yeah, certainly the scouting director role. I'm in that role in hockey, so I know what you mean, Brian. And I like to think I know a lot of hockey prospects, and I'll be honest, out of the 3,700 or 3,800 prospects that are registered on the UFFS platform for hockey players, there's probably close to 1,000 of them now that I had never heard of, or probably 500 of them. There's a lot of kids, especially the U.S. high school kids. We're going as young as 15 years old, so. I had normally focused my attention on the NHL draft year. So when you go 2-3 years out, I think a lot of surprises for me, a lot of eye openers, and then to track those kids over the next 3 years, or once they're added, to really pay attention. And shout out to Jeff Ray. He landed a ton of European kids from that 2022, 2023 draft classes that as they were coming in, I was starting to watch them. And the majority of his kids are trending up. He's going to have a lot of first and second round picks coming in 2022 and 2023. So that's exciting. And I mean, you nailed it, Brian. The UFAHL franchise auction, it doesn't get any bigger than this. Fantasy football's by far the biggest fantasy sport in North America and worldwide. And to see professional fantasy sports come to the NFL, and to see the real world athletes getting involved, professional athletes, current, active and retired legends, players joining the platform is so cool. And I was on a meeting last night with Chris Carter and Michael Vick and Terrence Crawford as well, the three of them talking about the UFAHL franchise auction and what it would be like to be an owner, and sort of what kind of responsibilities you have as an owner, what are the steps to going forward if you secure a franchise, what do you got to do next, kind of thing. And just to hear those guys debating about potential team names and our franchise names and all the rest, it's cool to connect with the athletes and really see them getting excited about the platform. So that's a big thing for me. The UFAHL franchise auction winding down tomorrow on Sunday afternoon. See that 2-minute warning and see the chaos that ensues after that, is the jostling for position, as far as, because the draft order is decided by who bids the most on their franchise. So, and seeing some of the professional athletes put together ownership groups and get involved, that Sunday afternoon is going to be definitely a highlight in the history books for UFFS.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited for that. I've got a potential owning in one of the UFL franchises, so that's going to be exciting this weekend. I'm also excited for baseball coming up, to be a GM or even an owner. Golf, I'd like to be an owner. Patiently waiting for the AHL. Hopefully that kicks in, and because I'll be co-GMing Truculent Owls with Jesse Gill, and even MMA. I'm not a big follower of MMA, but excited for that coming up and potential of what's going to be with that. I don't know if there's anything in the works. I said my interest on the chats before about wrestling, professional wrestling. A huge wrestling fan. WWE, AEW, Impact. I know it's scripted and all like that, but there's still ways to bet on wrestlers. Maybe have a team or something. Hell, even have like an IR list, injured reserve, if someone goes out for a while. But just so much that could happen, and I'm just excited for it all. There's so many athletes coming on board now. I mean, chatted with Ryan Malone and on text and through the chats, and Chris Carter and Nick Lewis, and and Damon Allen, for crying out loud. It's crazy. So just lots of excitement
With that professional wrestling, it was like, yeah, I'm a big wrestling fan too. I love it. It's just to see how they work, if they're bring it, and how they're gonna bring that, and how you build your stable for like wrestlers, because you could have the most athletic, or you most to be like the biggest hitters, and I want to see how that's going to come into fantasy.
Yeah, the only limits are our imagination here at UFFS. So we're certainly trying to figure out a way to do professional wrestling, because I grew up a wrestling fan, but I sort of died off after once The Rock left WWE, and but I grew up a big WWF fan and followed it all through my high school years and stuff, when Stone Cold and those guys and Degeneration X were the big thing, and loved it. And so I think there's a lot of appetite to somehow do professional wrestling as a fantasy sport. And certainly the idea of revolutionizing fantasy sports for MMA, it's never really been done as a dynasty franchise league with head-to-head events and stuff. I think there's a ton of potential for MMA as well. And that's something we have a lot of passionate people about. It's just a matter of finding the right way to once we get the gameplay engine, to find the right scoring system and stuff to really captivate the attention of the MMA world, because nobody else is doing that. And I think we can really everybody's got fantasy football and fantasy hockey, not on the level and the realism that we do, but to do MMA, something that's never been done, I think is and especially the scouting side of MMA. I mean, look at all the athletes that are martial artists around the world. I think the scouting side of MMA might be only second to the scouting side of soccer once that gets going as well. So all the new sports coming is super exciting, and we can't wait for the year ahead, but starting with obviously the UFAHL franchise auctions this weekend.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of the second Ultimate Roundtable here on UFSN. Enjoyed the opinions, enjoyed the thoughts, and good luck for those that are bidding on a UFAHL franchise this weekend. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Good luck this weekend.